Hello, everybody, and welcome to Forever Sports. What a bounce back from Scotland, losing to Italy a week ago, and the response is to end the England winning streak by beating them by 11 points at a rocking Murrayfield in a game where England actually scored right towards the end to make the scoreboard look a little bit less of, I wouldn't say embarrassing, but just less comprehensive, because it was a game where they were outplayed. A red card to Henry Arundel, a big difference. England played with 14 men for half an hour, but at the same time, far too many errors. And Scotland, when they had the opportunity, they took it every single time. Carl Steyn, brilliant. Hugh Jones, I think getting the man of the match. But we're talking intercept tries. We're talking about tries where chip over the top, Ellis Genge knocking the ball backwards and, fortuitously Scotland players grabbing it. But also we're talking about Scotland hanging in there at times. And this is an England side that have been looking very, very good and have been improving almost every single game. We kind of see them go out in the last calendar year, but tonight did not pitch up and were comprehensively outplayed. And this really does open up the Six Nations. France set to take a potentially big lead tomorrow when they take on Wales. But a big game for Scotland, and a game needed for Gregor Townsend, who's been under a lot of pressure in recent weeks. This will give him a little bit of a break and a little bit of faith from the Scottish fans. Before we break the game down, please do smash a like on the video. Please do subscribe to the channel as well. Let's have a look, shall we? So 31 points to 20, 11 points over there. And yeah, I mean, you look at some of the stats and the likes of that, and we'll look at them in a bit, and it kind of just shows you just, I wouldn't say how one-sided, because England had moments, but it was a very dominant performance from Scotland. It was very comfortable for them. They led from the beginning. They went up, 14, 17-0 within the first 15 minutes and never really looked back. England kind of tried to come back in and out, but just couldn't at the end of the day. You look at some of the top performers there. Hugh Jones with a brace, Amy Ritchie with one. And but I mean, you look at Hugh Jones, 112 meters run. That was from the charge down, actually. It was Matt Ferguson who came on and had a brilliant cameo. Ball back inside, and Hugh Jones basically went the length of the field. But this, for me, is the impressive part here. The fact that Rory Darch, 21 tackles, Scott Cummings, 18 tackles. Gregor Brown, I've been saying for a while that I feel like Scotland need locks. They need enforcers. They need second rowers who can really up the ante, bring the physicality, and really add to the pack. And Gregor Brown today, I felt, added that. I think he looked like a second row that can go toe-to-toe with some of the best in the world. And we sometimes see almost sort of hallmark performances, and I felt like today was a bit of a coming of age. Just his 11th, I think, international game, but he just looks so at home. And hopefully they can really get him to go from strength to strength and become that player for them. Jack Dempsey, also very good. The back row was very impressive. You look at the carries, Benel always carries a lot for England. 21 carries, top tackler, always a top performer in a losing cause this time. But Jamie Dobie, the number 11 jersey, 3 clean breaks from him, looked really, really good. Finn Russell also didn't miss a beat off the tee. If we look at the attack, for example, and this is where sometimes you'll see, and the first half, Scotland, 3 tries, kind of blew England away, really. More carries, more clean break, more meters run, more offloads, more everything. In the second half, we saw England come back a bit more. There's a bit more parity in the second half. England with more carries, with more meters run. So in the end, it looks pretty even. But that first half flurry, especially from Scotland, gave them the edge. And if you want to go check out the stats, go check it out on mypicks.app. You can go and rate the players. Go and give everybody a player rating between 1 and 10. Really worth doing. Vote for your man of the match. Scottish fans, go and vote and let me know what you think on your man of the match and the likes of that. But yeah, as I said, in the end, the clean breaks, I thought Scotland attacked really well. They used the width very well, especially when England were a man down. Used the space out wide, created space for their wings to get into over the advantage line. But defensively, big effort from Scotland. Missed a few tackles, but 163 made. But this is the problem with England, though. 115 tackles. They were asked to make almost 50-odd tackles fewer, conceded 5 tackles more. So their tackle rate was very, very poor. Turnovers as well, far too many from England. 8 turnovers, 1 from Scotland was a big part. They dominated the breakdown. When you dominate the breakdown and you defend better, you go a long way towards winning the games. The only part where I thought England obviously had the dominance was the scrums. And unfortunately, it doesn't show you the scrum penalties, but England were much better from a scrum point of view. They did out scrum Scotland. But if you look at the penalties, you can see Scotland a couple towards the end, but that yellow card and red card were a big difference for England. And kicking wise, yeah, as I said, Finn Russell kicked very, very nicely off the tee. So it's not quite back to the drawing board, I don't think, really, from an England point of view. But you start to wonder, well, that performance, that kind of performance is still in them, because if you want to win the Six Nations, you can't have a game like this. Scotland lost last week, and no one's saying Scotland's a bad side, but when you look at a team that's lost to Italy, which in fairness gave Ireland a good go. I mean, Rusty said last year, and even said now, he said a dark horse in the Six Nations is going to be Italy, and how cool that they are living up to that billing. But at the end of the day, and it's not to disrespect Italy, as in England, you've got to go and say, right, well, Scotland lost last weekend to Italy. We hammered Wales. We've got to go and beat Scotland. Because you don't beat Scotland, you've now got to beat France and Ireland probably to win the Six Nations. That's what it probably asks of England now, to go all the way. You've got to go and beat those two. Scotland, on the other hand, I suppose in a similar vein, also need to now go and beat a France and an England, which after last week, they probably wouldn't have felt very confident about being able to do. This week, all of a sudden, you might be sitting there thinking, well, maybe we can. Maybe we can give Ireland and France a bit of a go. We saw physicality of Scotland, which I haven't seen in a while. They've always been good with ball in hand. They've always been able to attack well. They've always been exciting. When you've got a Tupolotto or the Hugh Jones Tupolotto combination, when you've got a Finn Russell, you've got an exciting wings out the wide. Jamie Dobie's exciting. They've always got an opportunity to create chances. But they also sometimes can concede soft tries. But I felt today they had a physicality about them that we haven't always seen. I think that for me was a very, very big shift. And the more Scotland can do that, the more they can bring that kind of consistency, the more I think they'll start to compete with the top teams. You look at the world rankings, they've been, shifting down and down recently. And today they look like the Scotland that, are at their best under Gregor Townsend. He's a coach that needed this. Under a lot of pressure. A lot of people are saying he's taken them as far as he can go. Can he still get performances out of Scotland? Well, today showed he can. The players are still playing for him. But he has to find consistency. This cannot be a once-in-a-blue moon performance. This has to be something they can roll out week in, week out. So it's interesting to see how they respond. England, I don't think panic stations. That's the main thing. You got to try and say, well, put it down to a bad performance. We have been trending up. We still can do a job. We don't need to panic. What are your thoughts on the game? Let me know down in the comments below. Smash a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel as well. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Steve, and I'll chat to you soon.